Parliament has issued a statement acknowledging the nomination of Brian Molefe to fill a vacancy on the Northwest list of ANC members of Parliament, a matter that has created a conflict within the party structures in the province. Molefe is now waiting for a date to be sworn in as a member of Parliament. The ANC in the Northwest has defended its decision. And now to explain this decision, we are joined in studio by Dakota Legoete, the Secretary of the ANC in the Northwest Province. Good to have you. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
No, thank you very much, Leanne, and for the SABC to give us the opportunity.
All right, so the provincial executive of the province started the process last year already, approaching Letuli House with its national office, but Molefe only resigned in November. Why did you see it fit to already start this process?
Look, it was not only Brian Molefe that we started with. There are a number of cadres of the movement from the province whom we engage our head office to try to redeploy them back to the province to strengthen our capacity in terms of service delivery. And Brian Molefe was amongst them. But later, after he was available after resigning in ESCOM, we saw it fit to get him to Parliament so that he can make a positive contribution, because you know Brian Molefe is one of the astute executives and administrators renowned in our country for a good work. Wherever he was, he has turned around the situations in whatever capacity and institutions that he has worked in. And we thought it is going to be very much important for us as a movement, including for us as a province, to put Brian Molefe forward as our nominee candidate for the Member of Parliament after Comrade Abraham Madow approached us that is not well due to ill health, and he would want to relieve himself from duties of the National Assembly. And we saw it fit that Brian Molefe must come in.
All right, we're going to get into the details of all of that, but I think for the interest of viewers and for those that don't understand the process, talk to us about this process of becoming an MP. What is it that you do?
Look, the process of becoming an MP, it's a process that starts at the level of the province. For instance, there are two lists which are regulated from our national office. It's a national to national list and the province to national list, which is the one that we are recommending that Comrade Brian Molefe must replace Comrade Madow in it. What happens is that as a province, we recommend to our head office to have a member considered in the National Assembly. And once our head office approves, it will engage the National Assembly. And once the National Assembly, which is Parliament, approves, it will acknowledge like it did on Friday, which clearly means that Brian Molefe is being acknowledged. What is left is for him to be sworn in by the Speaker of the National Assembly to be a sitting Member of Parliament.
Okay. Let's now talk about the issues that are coming out of the province, because there are a lot of members within your province, as well as some senior execs that are saying that Brian Molefe is not even part of the Northwest. He is not a member of the ANC in the Northwest.
Look, it depends who speaks on these particular matters. We know there are some amongst us who are disgruntled for whatever happened in the history and the course of the work of the ANC in the province. The person who has raised this particular matter is not even a member in good standing of the African National Congress in the province, but second to it, the branch relevant is Ward 29 in Matipeng. There are three wards which forms part of RTPS Portam. It's Ward 29, Ward 30, and Ward 33. In this regard, it's Ward 29 which is responsible, which Brian Molefe is a member thereof. We can make details available to you if you want them, so that we clarify this matter once and for all, because it's not true that Brian Molefe is not residing, nor is he not a member of the ANC in the Northwest. But one thing that we need to clarify in terms of the politics of the ANC is that we are not pursuing a federal democratic revolution. We are pursuing a national democratic revolution. Everybody who is a South African, who is a member of the ANC, can elect or be elected, can be deployed in any strategic position. And that was the case with Brian Molefe. That's why in his previous deployments, wherever he has worked before, the issue of his membership, his location has never been an issue. We are just quite surprised now that it's being raised. But one thing for sure is that the issue of migrant labor system in South Africa, it has been very rampant for over centuries. People come all the way from the country to come and work in Gauteng. And it cannot be said that because they are from somewhere they have absolved their homes, they are people of Gauteng. It's not true. Yeah, and it's the case with Brian Molefe. So when he worked for ESCOM or PIC or whatever, he came like any migrant worker.
Where does the confusion come in? Because, I mean, how do you have the fact that the leaders in this particular municipality that you're talking about, in this particular branch in Madibeng, they say he is not a member. However, you are saying he's a member. Surely there is a list that's published, that's there, that's available to show who members are.
That's correct.
You're saying you have that?
We have that. The people who have spoken...
Why hasn't that been made public as yet?
Yeah, people who have spoken to the media currently are people of Ward 30 in Madibeng, which is part of Hartbeespoort. The media has not spoken to the relevant people who are the leaders of Ward 29. Those who have spoken to Comrade Melanzi or Comrade Martin Serrero are from Ward 30. There's Comrade Mook and Comrade Shares in Ward 29, who are both the branch chairpersons and secretaries of Ward 29. And those are the correct leaders that we have registered as a province of that
The leaders that
province.
I am quoting are those of Ward 29. Those are the ones that are being quoted. I saw them in newspapers this week.
Those who are being quoted are from Ward 30.
You say they're from Ward 30?
Yeah, I can give details of the leadership of Ward 29.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that we clarify this part. But it's not what we want to promote as the African National Congress. We are not a regionally based organization or a federal organization. We are a national organization. And like I said before, every South African who is a member of the ANC who is capable can be deployed in any position to assist us. And that's a contribution that we think Brian will make in the National Assembly.
Yeah. You know, the other thing is that let's quote Christina Mululu, Madibeng Municipality, Ward 29, ANC Branch Secretary, right? Is that correct?
She's in Ward 30.
She's Ward 30?
Yes.
Okay, well, she claims she's Ward 29. Her quote directly from this weekend's newspaper, he's never come for a meeting and we did not nominate him for Parliament. So you're saying she doesn't even belong to this ward?
Look, branches nominate for Parliament when there's a national elections in the process of list processes. But the replenishing of the list is a responsibility of the leadership that is of the province, making a recommendation to our national leadership, and upon approval by national leadership, that particular person will find his way or her way to the National Assembly. And that's the process that we followed. Because now there are no national elections. We worked on the fact that the list is depleted and there was a vacancy. And that's why we forwarded the name of Brian Molefe.
Yeah. All right, I want to take a break. There's so much more I want to discuss with you. So we'll just quickly do this break, come back, and we'll pick up the conversation once again. Please do stay tuned. Remember, you can get hold of us at Morning Live SABC. We'd love to hear from you.
The South African Native Labour Corps boarded the SS Mendy for France in 1917. They would never again see their motherland. A cold, misty night in the English Channel claimed over 600 lives of these African brothers when the SS Mendy sank. Survivors recounted the brave voice of Reverend Isaac Wolchobe Diobe. Be quiet and calm, my countrymen, for what is taking place is exactly what you came to do. We will remember them.
With the vast experience SABC News have, we are able to gather news and when it happens locally and abroad.
Inflation will be lower this year. Food price inflation more specifically could decline.
Current chairperson Dr. Nkosazana Lamini Zuma is not vying for a second term. 5 candidates are eyeing her seat.
The idea of having more countries seems specifically tailored to appeal to the African, Asian and Caribbean confederations who have been underrepresented at World Cups.
Ronaldo lifted the UEFA Champions League before captaining his country to a first international trophy at Euro 2016.
To be informed all the time, stay tuned to News Today, Monday to Friday at 3 p.m.
Right, welcome back. Still continuing our conversation with the appointment of Brian Molefe, well, the nomination of Brian Molefe for a parliamentary position. If I'm not mistaken, he will be sworn in on Wednesday. Is that the diary? Do you know?
No, for now, it's the Speaker's office that can answer to
confirm that. All right.
Yeah.
I was reading a report this morning in the Business Day saying that there's a possibility he will be, he'll do that on Wednesday. He'll be sworn in. One thing I do want to get to the bottom of is there's China Dodovu has been a very outspoken person this particular weekend. And he is speaking about this provincial executive committee being accusing you of bribery and corruption, and that no matter what happens or what anybody says, that this bribery and corruption is so deep-rooted that, you know, your truth is the truth, and in fact the real truth will never ever be unveiled.
Yeah, I think it's going to be important for China Dodovu to assist our country. If he has any knowledge or any evidence of wrongdoing or corruption within the government or within structures of the ANC, is free to report them to the law enforcement agencies so that those people can be brought to book, be prosecuted, and where their findings be found guilty. That's what we'd encourage him to do, because his reckless statement, for instance, he himself is not even a good member, he's not a member of the ANC in good standing, just for the record, even though he was our previous deputy chairperson, for instance. And some of these things bothers on the understanding of some of us as leaders, that when we have issues, we don't raise them internally. We would want to play into the public gallery, create distortions and uncertainty, and create a reputational crisis for the ANC. Even to escalate this issue of Brian Molefe to a crisis point, like China Dodovu is doing, is wrong. Because for starters, our struggle is a national liberation struggle. We don't run a federal struggle or a regional struggle or a tribalistic struggle. It's a national one in terms of character and content. And that is our understanding. Anybody who's a member of the ANC can make a contribution in any part of the Republic of South Africa, including in missions abroad, if the ANC see it fit. So it's wrong to want to pursue a narrow regional or factional position, no matter what. Because Brian Molefe, for instance, his record speaks for itself. Wherever he was deployed, he has turned around institutions.
All right, let's talk about Brian Molefe's record. Let's do that. Firstly, one question I need to ask you is, how can you nominate Brian Molefe to be a member of Parliament for the Northwest? This happened last year. He was still, at the time, part of ESCOM. Where did this come from? I mean, we've been talking a long time about perhaps Brian Molefe taking a ministerial position, and that finance position keeps on coming up. Why is it from last year already there was speculation?
Look, I would not want to speak on the issue of Brian Molefe as a minister, because ministers in line with the Constitution of the Republic are appointed by the President.
But the first step is to become a member of Parliament.
That's correct.
Which has come from your province.
That's come from my province. What we did, we created a pool of capable cadres of the ANC in the province that we think are somewhere else in the country or in some responsibilities that needs to assist us first and foremost in the province, once their contracts or once they retire. And Brian Molefe was the name amongst that particular pool that we created. And after we were approached by Comrade Madow, due to ill health and his resignation, we thought it is important that Brian Molefe must come in as a member of Parliament. We are putting him to the National Assembly. For what is going to happen is not even our prerogative. In line with the Constitution of the Republic, I have limitations thereof to say anything on the ministerial position or speculations or assumptions nor suppositions.
Let's again now talk about this record of Brian Molefe. As you talk about, you say he's a very astute leader, somebody with a great reputation. These are just some of the things you've said about him. However, when we look at what Brian Molefe has been accused of, do you still hold him in this high regard? The public protector linking him to state capture, to illegally giving tenders out to the Gupta family. He subsequently resigned. There's a lot hanging over his head that is not necessarily something that one would call astute.
Look, we need to educate our society very clearly. In a constitutional democracy, the court is the final arbiter, in particular the Constitutional Court, in any dispute in society. There is no court order or judgment that has found Comrade Brian Molefe guilty of any wrongdoing. As it is the point now, even those who have evidence related to him for wrongdoing, I think they must also approach the law enforcement agencies to get Brian Molefe to account. It is wrong to want to accuse him in the court of public opinion for something which he has not been found guilty of by a competent court of law. And that is allowed within our constitutional democracy. And we need to educate our people properly, because it does not suggest, if there's a report which does not replace a court judgment, that we can find you guilty for any wrongdoing.
Yeah. Again, there's talk from things like FEDUSA, organizations like FEDUSA. You know, it seems to be that there's word coming from all different areas that say that this position is highly compromised, giving it to Brian Molefe. I mean, let's take the Public Protector's findings. These are binding findings. These are things that it's gone to the Constitutional Court. They have been proved to be binding. FEDUSA calling this, putting him into the position in a Member of Parliament and perhaps moving into a ministerial position, is compromising the country and perhaps leading more to state capture. Does this not worry you in any way?
Look, like I said earlier on, we would want a judgment that says Comrade Brian Molefe is wrong of any, or is in conflict with the law on any matter. As it is for now, his record is still clean. Once that any court can make a finding related to Brian Molefe, I don't think we'll find it difficult to relieve him of his duties. But for now, we stand by our position that he's a relevant person who can make a contribution in the National Assembly.
Yeah. I also want to talk about Abraham Madow, who you were speaking about, saying that he was injured or that he's not well. There are reports, however, doing rounds saying that he was forced to resign, that he was forced to sign a piece of paper for his resignation to make way for Brian Molefe.
Look, he was not forced to resign. He actually approached the leadership of the province related to his challenge of ill health. And after he approached the leadership and we had a discussion and engagement with him, it was agreed by himself. He wrote a voluntary resignation letter to us, which we forwarded to our national office, and we started the process of replacing him.
So you're denying any news from the people that have spoken out saying that he had to sign a post-dated letter for January the 30th. This was signed previous to January the 30th, forced by your provincial leadership, making him resign.
No, it's not true. It's not true.
All right, we leave it there.
It's not true. But what I can say is that for this matter to have been brought or escalated to a crisis point that it is now, it's just unfair for any democracy, in particular constitutional democracy like ourselves. And I think Brian Molefe, like he did elsewhere where he was deployed, we think that he can make a positive contribution to the National Assembly. The issue of him being a minister is not our prerogative. I have limitations thereof because the relevant person is the President of the Republic, who is his responsibility in line with the Constitution. So as far as that matter is concerned, I can't comment. All
right, well, let's leave it there for this morning, but hoping that we can get those documentations of confirmation that he is, in fact, a member of Ward 29 and also other issues that have come up in the interview. We'll keep on looking into those. Thank you for joining us here on the program. Dakota Legoete is the Secretary of the ANC in the Northwest. Thank you for joining us on the program. Let's take a very quick break. We'll have the news at 7 after this.